Well, good morning and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Beth Hawley with the Arizona Association of Realtors, and we're proud to bring you these free webinars designed exclusively to keep you updated on issues and tech in the industry. Today's presentation will be about 35 to 45 minutes long. If you have any questions during the webinar, please write them in the question box and we'll try to get them answered. So joining us today is Jeffrey Raskin. Jeffrey has been a full-time realtor since 2000, is a GRI, ePro, an associate broker, and a certified zipForm, RPR, and GRI instructor. Previously, he was on the Phoenix Board of Directors and currently on the Board of Directors for Armless. As a real estate tech instructor for the last 12 years, Jeffrey travels across the country teaching his fellow agents how to double or triple their business utilizing the easiest and fastest methods in today's market. So welcome, Jeffrey. How are you today?
Thank you for having me, Beth. I do appreciate it. I'm doing wonderful.
Great.
Good. So, are we ready to go?
We are.
Wonderful. Let's go ahead and let me show my screen. And just want to make sure everybody can see what I am seeing. And okay. Okay. So, beautiful. Let's go ahead and do it, everybody. zipForm, frequently asked questions. There are so many things that I've been asked across the country because, of course, this is an NAR member benefit, at least the zipForm Online, which is called the zipForm Plus Edition. Most of you use that. There's a lot of questions out there that people really don't know, or, of course, you just don't know what you don't know. So I'm going to show you a lot of this stuff. So really quick, even though I'm not going to be able to hear you, I'm going to recommend that you just turn off your cell phones and concentrate and ask lots and lots of questions. This is your chance to go ahead and ask Mr. Tech basically any question you want about zipForm. So Beth already introduced me. Let's go ahead and get right into it. We know that once again, this is an NAR and an AAR member benefit, so we might as well use it. Now here's the thing. There's 3 different versions of zipForm. There's 2 for our computers, and of course a computer is a PC and a Mac, and the other one is going to be for our mobile device. That would be anything other than that. So your Nook, Kindle, Galaxy, all iPads, and of course all smartphones, and that, by the way, is an AAR member benefit. So the zipForm Online, the zipForm Plus Edition, once again, National Association of Realtor member benefit, and then we have the desktop, officially called the Standard Edition, and when I mean officially, that's from ZipLogix, the creator of zipForm in Fraser, Michigan, and that is an AAR member benefit, along with the mobile edition, once again, for our mobile devices, that's an AAR member benefit. So with that being said, I'd like to jump right into it and ask you what you have for me about, number one, the new platform that came out. And when I say new, of course, we're going on about 3 months now that has come out here in Arizona, because there's a lot of questions about that, as well as how to do the basics. And I'm talking about how to download the desktop, once again, the standard version of zipForm to our computers, and then, of course, how to make templates, which is probably the most essential part of everything. So here's what I'm going to do. I want you to go ahead and write your questions down below, as Beth mentioned earlier on, and I will go ahead and address it, and more than happy to answer it, because when we go into zipForm, of course, we're going to go into products, we're going to go into zipForm, and there it is. There is the NAR member benefit called zipForm Plus, and here's the AAR member benefit called zipForm Standard Edition. And once again, the Standard Edition is the program that you download onto your computer. So in other words, you can access your RPC, which is the residential purchase contract, and all the other forms with or without internet. And that means that if you don't have internet, everybody, you're doing an open house, you're pulling over to the side of the road to write a contract or a counteroffer or a BINSR, whatever the case may be, or simply the ZipLogix servers are down, which happens a lot. And when it does, guess what? If you are on the online version called zipForm Plus, you aren't able to write a contract. If you have the Standard Edition, you are able to do this. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump right into your questions, and let's do this. So question number 1. Will this be available to download after the presentation is over? I'm more than happy to send you all the information that you need. How can zipForm handle our timelines? I'm good with templates, most interested today in how to use these forms with the team. I'm the team leader, how to directly go to zipForm to ESign. Okay, so let's take one at a time. First thing is, I want to make sure that you have your templates. That's going to be important. So of course, in the zipForm Plus edition, you're going to go into templates, and you're going to create your template. Now the question is, how can you have it handle the timelines? This is the most beautiful benefit that they have come out with recently. What it's going to do is come out with something called checklists. And checklists, by the way, just to make sure you understand where I am, I'm in zipForm Plus, the online NAR member benefit. I'm going to go into templates. I created my templates. And notice over here, let me see if I can go ahead and bring in my little tab here. So I'm going to go ahead and create my little, let me do this with my little red pen. Makes it a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to, so here are my parties. Let's see if I can get my pen out. My pen does not want to work. Let's see, let me try this one more time. Highlight, let me try highlight. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to use my pen right now. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to show you with my cursor. So we're in templates. I'm going to go into the buyer template. And then over here we have parties, we have documents, and we have checklists. And what I'm going to do in checklists is come up here. I'm going to create a new checklist. I'm going to call this the buyer checklist. And fellow realtors, what you have the ability to do now is to literally create all the tasks of things that need to happen from day one of executed RPC, the executed purchase contract, all the way to COE, close of escrow, and beyond. So here's what I did. I said day one, I'm going to open escrow with, and I use a lot of acronyms, so if you don't understand my acronyms, let me know. But the EM, earnest money with EO, escrow officer. Day number one as well, upload docs to DB, designate a broker. Day three, of course, in our new contract, it's not 5, it's 3. We're going to receive the SPUD, Seller Property Disclosure Statement, from the LA, which stands for listing agent. Day 5 is going to be, of course, the comprehensive underwriting report showing the property history. And then day 10 for the BINSR and so forth and so on. So now I can go ahead and create what's called a checklist. And the best part of it all is that it will email you 2 days in advance of everything that needs to happen. And the other thing that I can do, which is really neat, is I can actually put it into my Google Calendar. I can put it into my Office Exchange calendar, which is Office 365, or you can keep it in your ZipLogic calendar. So it does allow you to sync automatically with the calendars that you automatically use anyway. So that's what it is, everybody. It's going to be called a checklist, and it has been there for a while, so go use it because it is a beautiful member benefit as well. I am going to, let's see, how do we use it with ESign? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go over zipForm questions first, if that's okay with you. And then if we have time at the end, I'm more than happy to go over ESign, which of course is an AAR member benefit. I highly recommend that you use that as well. We are, let's see, how do you create a template? Okay, so how to create a template. What we're going to do is, of course, I'm in zipForm Plus, the online edition of zipForm. You're going to go into the third tab over. So first tab is going to be dashboard. Second one is going to be transaction. Third one will be templates. I'm now going to click on new. And it's going to ask you, it's going to say, hey, is this a new listing template, a new purchase template, a new lease, or a new lease listing? I'm going to go into purchase, the dollar bill. So let me click on the dollar bill. And I'm going to call this my buyer template. Residential. And what's really important is this middle button right here called auto apply. When I do this, this will allow me to auto apply the template to every future buyer that I work with. I'm going to go over to all forms here on the right side. And now I'm going to add all of the documents that I'm going to be using for 100% of any future client. Arizona Association of Realtor cover sheet is going to be one. I'm going to come down to the agency form. Now, because the agency form is not really called the agency form, but this is in alphabetical order, there's going to be several different ways you can find it. You can find this by going into categories, so I can see all the forms that I might need for a purchase. I might see all the forms that I need for a listing as well. I can actually find this by form number. So if you do know it by form number, you can actually do this. A lot of people don't, but if you do, this is called the READY form, R-E-A-D-E form, and you can do that way. Or you can just simply type in one of the names of the form. I know that agency is in there somewhere, so when I click on agency, there it is right there, the real estate agency disclosure ready election for the buyer form. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. So basically, I'm going to add all the other forms that I typically would use for any future client. Once again, this is going to be the residential purchase contract. I call it the RPC. This is going to be the buyer advisory, the walkthrough. I'm not your broker, but I highly recommend you use the buyer broker exclusive employment agreement. Keep in mind that the HOA and lead-based paint in our contract come from the seller, not the buyer, so I would not add that there personally. I'm going to add the market condition advisory. Now I'm going to come down. I'm going to add the BINSR, a little bit hard to find, but it's going to be under RES, period, buyer inspect, notice and seller response. And of course, we have our brand new one that came out from AAR, and that is going to be our wire fraud advisory. Highly recommend you use that as well. So now that I have the 9 or 10 documents that I'm going to be using for any future client, I actually have the ability to organize it, which is really neat because I can go ahead and organize this into the order that I want. The other thing that I can do is I can add non-zipForm documents. So when I add the non-zipForm documents, I can come in here to one of the 4 clouds. I can browse to my computer and literally come up here. And this is pretty cool because now all of my company specific documents, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add things like the company specific ABA, like an affiliated business agreement. I'm going to go to my favorite title company, a buyer's guide to Arizona. I'm going to go to NAR. Why work with a realtor? How about the lead-based paint brochure? The lead-based paint disclosure is in zipForm, not the brochure. So I can add all these different forms and go ahead and literally populate it into my template. So now I have the zipForm documents, I have the non-zipForm documents, and I'll always know where they are. Bottom line is, I need to fill out that buyer template with as much information as I possibly can without referring to a specific client or property. So in other words, remember, I'm not working with my client. I'm going to call her Beth. So I'm not working with my client Beth. This is just a generic template that I'm using that I'm able to go ahead and work with that I can now apply to any future clients. I'm not going to go over every single form, obviously, but bottom line is I want to show you that when I go into zipForm Plus Edition, when I go into templates, when I come over here to my buyer template, I'm going to go into the agency form, also known as the ready form. Make it full screen. This is just a little trick, right? If you make it full screen, it's nice and easy to see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put in my firm name. I'm going to go ahead and put in my name. And think about that. Those things are not going to change that often. Hopefully not, right? So I can put this in there, line 34. I'm going to explain limited representation or dual agency. And then, of course, the undersigned buyer. Here's the other little trick. Now, every browser is just a little bit different, but I can go ahead and double click on sign. And up here at the right-hand corner, I can go ahead and highlight it. And I love this because although this has nothing to do with ESign, this will go ahead and it will inform me where my client has to buy to sign, initial, and date so that you'll never forget it again. So once you do this with the RPC, the buyer advisory, all the other forms, I'm not going to go into it again because if I put Beth's name in, that would ruin it for everybody. I'm simply going to go into transaction. I'm going to go into new. I'm going to say, hey, what kind of client is this? Is this a buyer or seller? It's a buyer. And it's going to ask me, what is your client's name? Her name is Beth. As soon as I click residential, everybody, boom, the buyer template comes up. And on the very first page, here's one of the things that they changed in this. On the very first page, I have MLS Connect. It is the most beautiful, or at least one of them, 8-year-old AAR member benefit that I've been using since day one because it does amazing things. This means that when I go in to search for a property, I'm going to be able to come in here. I'm going to go active properties. I'm going to go ahead and put in a subdivision. And let's just go right near where I am. I'm down by the Arcadia area, kind of. And let's go choose a nice big property. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Let's go get our $13.95 million property. All right, there we go. 10 bedroom, 12 and a half bath. Holy moly. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the MLS number. I copy it, Control C on my PC, Command C on my Mac. I'm going to be able to go down, push Control V as in Victor on my PC, Command V on my Mac, include the property photo. It's going to find this. And once it finds it, because you have to think about what it is doing now, our zipForm product is literally going out and it's reaching to our own local MLS. It's bringing in the data. And fellow realtors, what's going to happen now is that when I go into documents, when I go into the RPC, make it full screen, of course, now all of the information is there, including the address, assessors number, city, county, zip code, as well as the legal description and all the broker's information. So everything that I did on one form in the template, it populated it to my new client. So there's my 3-hour class in a 2-minute nutshell. So that's how you do a template. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Good. So share your templates. Okay. Can you share your templates and checklists with us so we can load onto our zipForm? Yeah, not a problem. Or do we need to each create a template? That's a great question. You can, CAN, share the templates with other people. And you know what? If you, let's see, email Beth or email me directly, I'm more than happy to share that with you. Just make sure that when you email us, you need to understand that when I share my templates with you as a fellow realtor, make sure that you take out my information on page 10 of the RPC and replace it with your own information, or else I will gladly go down and collect your commission for you and give you a phenomenal 25% referral fee. Ha ha ha, it's Hump Wednesday. So, but anyways, yeah, I'm more than happy to share that with you. When are the new commercial documents going to be loaded? That is a great question. That is a question for AAR, and I'm sure that they'll have an answer for you shortly on that one. Let's see, is there a standard checklist template that shows the due dates for? Yeah, so I just showed you the checklist there. Can you export info from your profile sheet into MLS, or do you have to retype everything in MLS listing? That is a great question. So one of the things that does not mesh together is to go into the MLS input forms, which is going to be of course, for your local MLS, right? So of course, AR MLS is going to have one. Prescott is going to have their own. Flagstaff, Sedona, Tucson, and so forth and so on. There's, I believe, 16 associations across the state. So what's going to happen? They're going to have their own input forms. Those will not populate into MLS. Most of the state uses Flex MLS. There's a couple of people who use, I believe, Rapatoni, if I'm not mistaken. It will not go in there. So I'm going to always recommend that you go directly into the MLS, put it in there, and then you can go ahead and backtrack that form so that you can go ahead and have that signed. But no, right now they do not sync together, but that is a wonderful question. How do we pull info in from MLS Connect on this one? So here is one of my number one questions is, how do I actually put this together? So I want you to watch carefully on this one because there is a secret to using MLS Connect for the majority of Arizona. Once again, this is going to be Flex MLS specific. And if your association is not on Flex MLS, I only believe there's only one in northern Arizona. And if that's the case, do either email me offline or you can ask your association. But for the rest of Flex MLS clients out there, here's what you have to do. When you go into Flex MLS, I'm going to go over to in my case, of course, my acronym, my initials. I happen to be Jeff Raskin, so it's going to come up with JTR. What I'm going to do now is click on my profile. And at the very bottom, everybody, is going to be called RET setting, RETS setting. What that means, once again, you need to go into Flex MLS, your name on the right-hand side, and then in the RETS password. What I'm going to recommend is to put in a password that's nice and easy. And the best part of it all is that it will never change. A lot of your associations, the password will actually change every 180 days. This will never, ever, ever change. I've had the same one for 8 years now. And once you put in that RETS password, you're going to go ahead and save it. And I'm going to go ahead and once again look for a property. So when I go into a property, let me go into a different subdivision now, just to show you that I'm looking for a different property. I'm going to go into Silverleaf, for example, and out of the available properties, there's going to be 74. So here's what I do. With that RETS password, I'm going to go back to zipForm. I'm going to go into MLS Connect. Now remember, it was on the very first page when I started a new transaction, but you can also find it once you go into Documents. So once you go into Documents, it's going to be MLS Connect. And this is going to be really important. This is a once-in-a-lifetime setup. Your MLS User ID needs to be in lowercase. I cannot stress this enough. If you put it in uppercase, it will not work. Number 2, your password is not your MLS password, and that's why the majority of realtors across the state do not use it. And you wouldn't know any difference because it doesn't say anything. It says MLS User ID, so you would just think that it's my user ID and password, but it's not. It is your brand new RETS password, and when you go ahead in the RETS password, that will remain there forever. The other thing that I want to do, let you know, is that the MLS does not need to be open to use MLS Listing ID. As long as you know the MLS number, you can go ahead and put it in there, even if MLS is not open, and then once again include property photo if you want to. You don't have to do that. I'm going to find it first. You have to find it first, and then when you find it, it's going to once again populate all that information in there. I'm going to save it. And when I save it, notice when I go into the RPC, when I make it full screen, notice that address is totally different. So that's how you use MLS Connect. Okay. Let's see. I'm good with templates. Most interested today in how to use these forms with a team. I'm the team leader. So ZipLogix, the creator of zipForm, actually has a team version. You can actually contact them with that, and then the team leader can actually go look at other people on your team. So I would highly recommend you contact ZipLogix for that one. Let's see. How do we directly go to zipForm into ESign? If I have time, I promise you I will go over that. How do I set other documents up in templates so that when I pulled into DocuSign, initials and signatures are in place? So what I want to let you know is that DocuSign, which is an NAR subsidized member benefit, it's about $240 a year. The ESign, the AAR member benefit, both of them will populate the tabs of where your clients need to sign initial and date on all pages. That's the best part of it all. A lot of people do not know this, both on ESign and DocuSign. They think that you have to PDF it out and then you have to drag and drop. And fellow realtors, of course, never ever do that. That's ridiculous. It automatically does that for you as an AAR member benefit and as a DocuSign subsidized member benefit. If we have time, I'm more than happy to go over that as well. Let's see. When I'm in a new form is released, your template autoflow will have to let me read it. When a new form is released, will your template auto update, or do you have to go into each delete? Anyway, yes. So here's what's going to happen. When a new form comes out, and when they do come out, they come out twice a year from AAR and your local association. Once again, that's going to be PAR, P-A-A-R up in Prescott. That's going to be AR MLS. That's going to be TAR, T-A-R in Tucson, and so forth and so on. So what's going to happen is that it will take out the old document and it will replace it with a new one. You might need to go in there and actually, well, you're for sure going to have to go in there and repopulate your highlights if you use the highlighter. And then you might have to fill out a couple of different spaces that were not there in the old form. But yes, it will take it out. It will not, however, take out documents from current transactions for obvious reasons, because you don't need to change that. Okay, good question. Can you export info from your profile sheet into MLS? I think we addressed that one. How do you use MLS Connect as a listing agent? So I just want to let you know that you use as a listing agent the exact same way. I can actually go into my listing template. Of course, we have the ER, which is the exclusive right to sell unless you use the EA. I have the ER, the MLS input forms. I have the SPUDs. I have the HOA just in case, the sold change form. And what I'm going to do is you can actually use an old MLS number from when it was listed 5 years ago, 8 years ago, it doesn't matter. And it will actually fill in all the information that the previous agent put in there. Now, here's the thing. If you go and use this, which actually I do when I take a listing, you need to be sure that you go in and take out the old listing agent's information and obviously put in yours in lieu of that. It's also going to put in the old listing price from 5, 8, 10 years ago. Obviously redo that, as well as the listing date. And you need to redo that as well. So the answer is you absolutely can, CAN, use MLS Connect with a listing. That's how you do that there. Is there a standard checklist template that shows the due dates for a typical real estate transaction, which I went over that as well. That's going to be in the checklist. Is there a way to get any zipForms to keep our realtor information automatically loaded in the right space for representation? We need to plug it in on the form of the templates only. Okay, if I'm reading this question right, once again, let me just go over this one more time to make sure that we're crystal clear on this. I go into templates. I have my buyer template. I have my 9 or 10 different documents that I'm going to be using for 100% of any future buyer that I work with. I put in my non-zipForm documents. By the way, those non-zipForm documents are not going to be fillable. I just want to let you know, not unless your broker calls up ZipLogics in Fraser, Michigan, the creator of zipForm, and they have paid $160 a form. And if they have done that, then you can actually get a third library. So it'd be AAR, it would be your local association, and then it would be ABC Realty. And your broker does have the ability to do that. There's right now only about 11 brokers in the state of Arizona who have actually taken advantage of that. So if you want your broker to do that, or you are a broker, it might be worth it for $160 a page. So what I'm going to tell you is, once you fill out your template with as much information as you possibly can, and remember, here's my ready form, everybody. Notice that 99% of it is filled out. I never need to fill out again. Here's my RPC, my residential purchase contract. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally come in here, buyer, seller, don't even think about it unless you want to do 9C. The earnest money, I'm going to say to be deposited within 48 hours of acceptance. That's okay. I use that for 100% of any future contract that I've written over the last 18 years. I'm going to put in and say additional funds to be deposited on or before COE. Please spell it out. I'm going to say to be funded with a new conventional loan. Now you say, Jeff, how do you know it's going to be conventional? Well, I don't, but I know over the last 18 years that 90% of any future buyer has been conventional, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in there. But here's what's going to happen is that when I put all this information in here, right, deposited, I'm going to keep on going down. I'm going to put in personal check, escrow company. On line 38, I'm going to put in, please spell it out, market condition advisory. I'm just doing this for time's sake. I'm going to highlight it as I go through. Page 2, you cannot do anything. Conventional, buyer, of course, put in your favorite title company. It's a buyer's choice, of course. I'm going to highlight it as I go through. And I'm not going to go through the whole contract, but bottom line is that I'm filling out 90% of my agency form. I'm going to be filling out about 90% of my residential purchase contract so that I never need to fill it out again. When I fill this out, of course, with my own information as well, on line 444, I can go ahead and do that. And then once again, I'm going to save it. And by the way, the other little trick is when you click on the green back button, not your browser back button, but the green back button of zipForm, that will save it and it will go back at the same time. So what I'm going to do is when I go into transactions, new, we're talking about a purchase. I'm going to be working with John. Residential, notice the buyer template comes up. I'm going to go into MLS Connect. I'm going to put in that MLS number again. I'm going to find it. And then when I find it, it's going to bring in all the information as I previously taught you. I'm going to go ahead and save it. So now I have John. I'm going to go down. This is the very first screen. In the Summary tab, I'm going to go out into the pencil. The offer date is going to be today. Offer acceptance is going to be tomorrow. Contract date is going to be tomorrow. And the closing date is going to be, I'm making this up, of course, it's going to be the 23rd. Fellow agents, what happens when you put in those dates in the Summary tab? Watch what happens when I go into checklist. It will literally populate those dates for me into, oh, you know what? I didn't put those in there, did I? Put in another one. Let me go ahead and do this one more time. Let me go ahead and I'm going to populate my, let me go ahead and I'm going to bring in, let me do this again. Let me do new, let me do purchase, and let me do Suzanne residential. So what's going to happen is that when I do that buyer template, I'm not going to do MLS Connect. What's going to happen, and then I put in those 4 dates that I just mentioned to you, what it's going to allow me to do, just one last time so you can see what it looks like. I'm going to go on the offer date, which is going to be the 11th, offer acceptance the 12th, date of contract the 12th, closing date May 23rd, and then when I go into checklist, everybody, this is the best part of it all. Look at that. It literally is a relative date. So it goes, hey, on day 1, day 3, day 5, day 7, day 10, it's going to tell you everything that you need to do. This is a built-in TC, a built-in transaction coordinator. And then I can also say, hey, this is completed. And once again, it will email me out 2 days in advance. It'll also put it on my Google and my 365 calendar, which is pretty cool. Okay, good. Let's see, is there a way to get any zipForm to keep our realtor information automatically loaded in the right space for representation? Or, oh, is that the one that I just read? I just made a password on RETS that has a capital letter in it. However, you just said, no. Your password, okay, here's what I said. Your password can have as many caps as you want in it. I'm not worried about the password. I'm worried about when you go into MLS Connect. Here's what I'm talking about. Your MLS User ID, that needs to be in lowercase. I don't care whether you can have anything you want in your password. It doesn't matter to me, but your MLS User ID needs to be in lowercase. Okay. What's your favorite hack that hardly anybody knows? Oh my gosh. Where do I start with that one? Okay. First, does everybody know what a hack is? A hack is a little life trick secret that makes your life easier. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Here's a little hack. Are you ready for this one? This is kind of cool. Here's how I get the contract every single time that very few people know about. I'm going to go to line, let's see, I'm going to go to line. I usually know my lines pretty well. I'm going to go to line 344. And I want to put in my escalation clause. This is a really popular property. There's multiple contracts on it. I want to make sure that I get it. I do not want to type my 2-paragraph escalation clause every single time. So here's what you're going to do. Ready for this one? Line 344. And remember, it doesn't have to be line 344. It could have been anywhere on any fillable field on any form in zipForm. I'm going to go to the ghost pencil. And when I go to the ghost pencil, I'm going to go to the little constitutional scroll. And when I click on it, I'm going to go to the agent clauses and fellow agents. I'm going to go down to my escalation clause, and boom, I win about every single time. You don't need to type that again and again and again because it's automatically there. So how do you actually get that? I'm going to go into the back. I'm going to go into templates. And then they're called clauses. And when you go into the little scroll, I'm going to go ahead and click on it. And when I click on it, I'm going to go to my clause. Ready? So I'm going to do new clause. I'm going to call these clauses in general. And I'm going to call this the AAR sample phrase. Now, here's the text. This is my sample phrase that I can use anywhere in zipForm in any fillable field. And when I go ahead and I save it, watch this. I could have been in any single document on any form. I'm going to go back into transaction. I'm going to go back into Suzanne. I'm going to go to the third tab, which is going to be documents. And once again, I'm just going to the RPC because they have other spaces, but you could have done this on any form. Make it full screen. Don't forget, there's that other hack, right? Make sure you do it full screen, right? Nobody's getting younger in this webinar. And what we're going to do is I'm going to come up here to line 352, ghost pencil, scroll, agent. There is my beautiful AAR sample phrase. I'm going to insert it. So there's my little hack. Pretty cool. Let's see. Why doesn't the AAR cover sheet auto-populate? It does. It does populate the other things. There are going to be certain things that will not populate, and you'll see that from the AAR cover page to a lot of times on page 10, you'll see that as well. And when you populate it there, I promise you it will populate the other pages. But, there are some things that may not populate everything, but just you need to go through the contract anyway. So populate it there and it will populate the other thing. But good question. How do you exit a template? Mine has only buyer's name. Well, the reason yours has buyer's names is because you messed up your template, right? Oh, you even said that. Obviously, I messed up at the beginning, right? Yeah, don't mess up your template, everybody, by putting in a client's name. I cannot stress that enough. Remember, a template is a generic set of forms that you're going to use for any future buyer that's going to have a generic set of verbiage in it so that you do not need to do this again. So if you messed it up, the only thing you can really do, and you don't need to really delete it, I'm going to go into templates. Just go into your buyer template. You're going to go into the agency form, right? I'm going to take the agency form. Let's say that I did actually put in Beth, right? And let's say I put in a date on top of that. You're like, oh my gosh, Jeff, I messed it up. So go into the template, go ahead and take all this stuff out of there. And when you take it out, once again, either save it with the save or go to the back, the green back button, another one of my little hacks. And when you do that, then you just resaved your beautiful template with nobody's name in it. Please do not put in a name. Do not use MLS Connect. But actually, you can't use MLS Connect with it. But do not put in obviously an address. Don't put in a legal description. Don't put in a purchase price or COE as well. Please say again in MLS Connect, what will we put in the MLS User ID? Yours starts with initials. So I'm going to go into, I happen to be on Flex MLS, which is the majority of the state of Arizona. There are a couple of associations who use other products, but for the majority, it's going to be Flex MLS. So in Flex MLS, you're going to go into the MLS. You're going to go into your name on the right side. I'm trying to kind of whirl my pointer around it. And when you click on it, you need to go into My Profile. You need to go into RETS Settings, RETS Settings. Now, if your Flex MLS, I promise you will have this in there, regardless of where you are. If you are not on the Flex MLS system, which is, like I said, probably only going to be a few of you, please either ping me offline or you can always call up your AE, which is the account executive of your local association, and they will let you know what it is. But for the majority of Arizona, it is going to be Flex MLS. You need to put in a RETS password and put in whatever you want, 1234, 1234, does not matter. I'm going to go back into zipForm. I'm going to go into transaction. I'm going to go into Suzanne, documents. And when you go into documents, once again, this beautiful 8-year-old AAR member benefit is going to come out. It's called MLS Connect. This needs to be in lowercase, and this meaning your MLS user ID. Your password is not your MLS password. That's why, according to the AAR blog, only 94% of you, actually I should say only 6% of you use it, 94% does not, which is just a horrible number, everybody. So please, let's raise this up to 100% if possible, so that every single Arizona Realtor has the ability to go ahead and use this, okay? I have a Surface Pro tablet, which by the way does not matter because a computer that allows actual signatures. Is there a way to get zipForm to recognize our signatures? So the question for this is, and it doesn't have to be a Surface Pro, of course, that is the one that I use personally, but it can be any touchscreen computer, and that means whatever brand you may have. I'm not going to I'm not here to promote one or the other, but what I am going to let you know is that when you do this, you cannot sign with your pencil if you have a touchscreen stylus, right? You cannot do this directly in within the zipForm product. You have to actually take it out of zipForm with a PDF and go ahead and sign from there. Ping me offline for that one because that's only going to be for a specific percentage of people out there. Yeah, look at maybe one of my other classes that I give. Where's the Ghost Pencil? The Ghost Pencil is going to be, I'm going to go into Transaction. I'm going to go into Suzanne. I'm going to go into Documents, Agency. Whenever on any form, when you click on any fillable field, I don't care what it is, doesn't matter what document it is, when you do it, the Ghost Pencil will always come up. And when the Ghost Pencil comes up, you'll always get the scroll. Oh, and by the way, here's another little hack if you didn't know that. You can change everything to all uppercase. You can change everything to all lowercase, or you can also do just the first letter. I just want to let you know that. But there's a little scroll, and that's where you get to the Ghost Pencil. How do I duplicate a transaction like a buyer first offer didn't work out? Do you want to, yep, and you want to use it for the next one. So it's a good question. So let's say that Suzanne writes an offer, and basically, that one doesn't go through. It never got accepted, or it falls out, and the bins are processed. So I need to write another one. I don't want to recreate the whole thing. You need to go down to this little blue arrow right by her name. And when you do this, I'm going to click on it. I'm going to copy the transaction. So when I copy the transaction, I'm now going to say, instead of just Suzanne, I'm going to put in Suzanne Bell Road. When I go ahead, notice everything is there. Include forms, include your other PDF documents, includes your notes and checklist. Remember that checklist that we went through earlier? Now, once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and save it. And now it will make me a copy of it. And it makes me a copy of it, everybody. Watch what happens when I go into transaction. Oh, let me make sure that I copied it properly. Let me do copy. Let me do copy Bell. I'm going to go and purchase. I'm going to go ahead and save it. And then when I save it, there we go. And then it will go ahead and now it will make me a copy of it. There we go. And there's Suzanne Bell. Okay. I'm brand new. What is RETS? RETS, I'm going to tell you, you'll never, ever hear this word again. It sounds for the real estate transfer exchange, but what I'm going to tell you is that you'll never hear that word again. Seriously, go into your Flex MLS, go and change that RETS password, and then you'll never have to hear that word again. Fair? Because you use it once in your life and you're done forever. Patricia, let's see. I'm using zipForm Standard. Can I print out a critical date list from that program? That is a great question. There's about 8 or 9 different things that you can do on the online version that you cannot do on the desktop version. So I'm going to list them off for you. Let me list them off for you. You know what? I'm just going to tell you, and then just ping me offline, and I can go ahead and send you this list because I'm a pretty fast typist, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to type it this fast. You know what? Let me show you in zipForm the things that you cannot do. So I'm on the Plus Edition, and the desktop version called the Standard Edition, which, by the way, Patricia, I love the desktop version because, of course, I can make money with or without internet by writing a contract or anything else. The other thing that I want to let you know, here's another little hack. All of your transactions will sync together. It doesn't matter what version you use, the online or the desktop version. Look at this, John, Suzanne Bell, they all sync together, so it doesn't matter what version you use. But here's what I'm going to teach you. here's Suzanne, right? Suzanne Bell. Here's the thing that you can do on the online version that you cannot do on the desktop version. Number one, there's no such thing as adding non-zip form documents to the desktop version. You can only do it with the online version. The checklist, online version only. Nobody asked, nor I guess you did ask with my little hacks. If I have time, I'm going to show you what Zip Consult is. And Zip Consult will actually allow you to consult live with up to 4 clients or for anybody. And you can hear them, you can see them if they have a camera, and you can also show your screen at the same time. It's called Zip Consult. It's an NAR beautiful member benefit. That is something you can also only do on the online edition. Some other things you can do is what's called share. So the person who asked me about the hacks, there's about 15 hacks, right? And I'll try to go over the other ones. I know I'm running out of time, but the other hacks are going to be, you can actually go into share. And when you share it, you can actually share with other people in the transaction. That's the online version only. Can't do it on the desktop version. There's another thing that you can use. It is called email the transaction. And this is incredible, everybody. When I go into email the transaction, it gives me this email address that's specific to Suzanne. I can actually go into my email. And when I go into my email, I can actually say beth@gmail.com or whatever it is. I'm going to say docs to send to me. And this is pretty slick because I could come in here and say, hi, EO and LO. I'm going to say every time you have a doc to send to me, such as the earnest money receipt and so forth and so on, please send to this new email address. And watch this. Boom. When anybody uses this email address, it will actually send it directly back into Suzanne's zipForm product. So that's pretty cool. That's something else that you can only do in the online version. So there are about 10 or 11 different things you can only do in the online version. You cannot do on the desktop version, but always have it handy, everybody, because keep in mind, without internet, you aren't writing a contract if you have the zipForm Plus edition. So use both of them. Can you show your seller? Can you show your seller template? Yeah, I'm happy to share that with you. How do you add a picture into the contract? That is a great question. Here's what you can do. There's actually several ways you can add pictures now. So let's say I'm writing a contract, right? And I'm going to go into the contract. Now this is really cool. So I'm writing a contract for Suzanne, right? And basically I go into page 2. Now page 2 says, hey, do you want to include the refrigerator, washer, and dryer? So instead of going into the description and typing in, model number, VIN number, right? That's ridiculous, everybody, because of course, do not touch that. If you don't clamp something in well enough, then it's going to flood, and that's just a whole E&O nightmare. So here's what I'm going to tell you to do. I am going to tell you to take your phone camera. It's high enough, the definition is high enough to do what you need to do. And they have something that's called Photos. So once again, I'm in zipForm, and Photos is right here. And when I click on Photos, I can actually add a photo into this. So when I present my contract to the listing agent, I say here's the ready RPC, buyer advisory, market edition advisory, so forth and so on. By the way, here's the photo to back up lines 56, 57, and 58. So I'm going to say, see attached photo, and that's how you do that there. So it's called Photos. That's one thing you can do. The other thing that's fairly new, this is kind of cool, right? Just kind of have a little bit of fun. If you go into parties, did you know you can actually go into parties and click on, of course, buyer 1, right? I could do buyer 1. I would add Beth. I'm switching names here, but I'm going to go to Beth Smith. I can actually add photo, and I can add Beth's photo, which means that when I click on that, and every time I see this, I would see Beth's lovely photo there. Okay. Let's see. How do I? Am I using zipForm? Can I print out that? Where do you find that email the transaction address? Oh, the transaction address, blue drop-down menu, email the transaction. Oh, here's another thing you cannot do on the desktop version you can go directly on the online version, directly into RPR, which is Realtors Property Resources, an NAR member benefit, and it is beautiful, everybody, if you have never seen that before. Okay. Do I have time for one last one?
Yeah.
I guess. I know I'm like rocking and
questions.
rolling on this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to get you out of here on time. So how do I go directly into zipForm to ESign? So here's what I'm going to tell you. I don't think I'm going to have time to go over the whole thing, but I'm going to start you on with this, Sherry, and then you kind of go from there, and maybe I'll do another webinar or something to make this to show you all how this works. But in a nutshell, to use the AAR member benefit, which is ESign, and of course, when I say member benefit, that means no extra charge to you, everybody, because you pay for it in your AAR dues. I'm going to go into document, and what I'm going to recommend you do, actually, let me just show you how to do it, and then you can kind of go from there. I'm going to go into document, and the number one thing is that people do that is incorrect is to go into ESign, because you would think that it would be that because ESign, hello, but it's not ESign, because that will take you into a different product. You need to actually go into email. You need to check the documents that you would like to send to your client. You're going to click on next. I have this email address saved in my favorites, but if you don't, you can just type it out. And the magic email address is going to be docs@email2esign.com. I'm going to say Beth's Docs. And the most important thing that I can teach you about this is to go down to the bottom. You have to click on Separate PDF Documents. If you do not do this, the system will not work, and you're going to send it out. When you send it out, it says, hey, we successfully sent it to the recipient. The recipient is ESign. When I go into ESign, which is the AAR member benefit, I'm going to go in here, and it's going to take me to a 6-step process. Notice that Beth's documents are there, and I'm going to go through, of course, the 6 steps. So that should at least start you in the right direction. Once you go through step 1, step 2, there's a secret hidden window. I call it 2.5. That will allow you to mesh the documents along with the buyers or the sellers, whomever you're working with, your clients. And then when you go into part 3 and especially part 4, it will all be tabbed for you. So it basically on your 10-page RPC, where your client needs to sign initial and date will automatically be there for you. So that should really give you a 30-second nutshell overview of how to use ESign. Okay.
Fantastic.
Good. Yeah, that was a lot of information.
Yeah. So Nick with Business Services wanted people to understand that this is renewal season. So when you jump onto these programs, you might be prompted to update passwords and go through a couple of extra screens. But that's perfectly normal. So don't get scared off.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Because May's coming around.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, if you need to ping me offline, everybody, if you want to, my handle is going to be jeff@tech4re.com. You can always go to my website, www.tech4re.com. My phone number is right there as well. Let me know if you have any questions that I was not able to address with you today, but hopefully you learned tons of information. And I was able to open up your eyes to things you've never seen before, also known as hacks. So
great. Good. Well, thank you, Jeffrey. Just a reminder, this will be available for viewing on our YouTube channel sometime next week, hopefully by Monday. So thank you all, and have a great day.
Thank you.